Okay, we're going to try this for round two. Just recorded this for about a half hour only to realize I had my capture settings set up wrong and I was recording the wrong screen. So we're going to try to do this again, but this time better. For anybody who was asking or was interested, this is how I edit Jbeam or Json files to do some of the things I do. In this case, I have open the Cakewalk B20 engine. He was recently asking in the Discord to send this out so people could use after I had made it work in the Cove Up. That was a really simple process. In this case, the engine is usually set up. This is your slot type. So when you go into the game and you pull open your parts menu and you go to engine under Covet, the game looks for this code basically, this slot type. This slot type tells the game, hey, this engine fits in this slot, the engine slot for this vehicle, the Covet. The mod author of the Cove Up made his own slot type. I've ran into the issue before. Doinks asked for some help with the radiator issue on a Chevy truck mod. The mod author did the same thing. The mod author made their own slot type, and therefore the parts could only fit that mod author created. It's a really easy fix. In this case, I'm just going to scroll down and show you. But we take this slot type, which is Covet engine. We want this engine to fit in the Cove Up. You pull open the Cove Up's parts, and you go in, and in this case, the mod author made it Cove Up engine. That's his specific slot type on this vehicle. So I copied and pasted all of this straight from the Cakewalk one. And the only thing I changed was this slot type to match what the Cove Up needs. This is case sensitive. Easiest thing to do, find the vehicle you want it in, copy, paste. Super simple, and it's done. These slots underneath of slot type, these are the parts that this engine calls for when the engine is loaded in your non-career. If you have a career, some of these can be overwritten based on what parts you have in career. I'm not going to get into that, but just know this is what the game is going to automatically install when it installs this engine in, I believe, a non-career setting. So let's say you wanted to build a crate turbo race motor. You could go into your Covet game file. I'll show you how to get into the vehicle files later in the video. And go in and say, okay, in this case, this is the type of intake I'm looking for. This says type. So any intake that is called a Covet intake 2.0 is going to be able to fit in this area. So you would go into the file, find anything that's labeled slot type, Covet engine 2 or intake 2.0, and then the next piece in this chain is the default part. In this case, it's just the default 2.0 intake, but if you wanted a turbo, you could make this the turbo. If you wanted this to be ITBs, you can make it ITBs. Whatever part you want, as long as this slot type matches, put the name of the part here, and that's what will be your default part there. And then this is just what the game is going to call that particular part. Same with this here, where it says Cakewalk Built B20. This is what you see in your drop-down menu to be able to select this part. This is what the game sees this part named as. This value here, well, there where it says value, this is how much that part's going to cost. If you want everything to be free, you can go into the mod and you can make every single one of these whatever you want, and that's going to change the price of the part. That's up to you. Anyway, let's say you have a engine in the game you enjoy, but it doesn't quite make the power you want. All of this right here is how you would do that. This is what the game reads for power output. So in this case, we have our RPM on the left and we have our torque on the right. As you do not list power, you list it by torque. Horsepower is torque over time. Anyway, so you have all of these values. You can change these values to whatever you want. And then that is going to be what that engine makes at that particular RPM, and the game fills in the gaps. This is your idle RPM, pretty self-explanatory. You can change that up or down if you want. Again, self-explanatory. This is your max RPM. This is where redline is. These I've never messed with. I don't specifically know what they do. You're welcome to fiddle with them and try and figure it out on your own. It's not something I'm going to be messing with anytime soon, but just so you know, most likely it's going to be your parasitic loss settings. Again, I'm not going to mess with that. This is how much torque your engine makes off throttle engine braking. This is going to be your fuel efficiency, as well as this, I believe. And then this is the type of fuel the engine uses. So if you wanted to convert one of the base 4 cylinders to be diesel, you could do that here. This is your exhaust sound. Again, this is not something I've messed with, and depending on the actual exhaust system you put on, this changes also. But anyway, that's this particular engine. That's how you would change those values. All these values are going to be the same across every other engine in the game for the most part. My bad. Values will not be the same, but this basic file layout will be the same. But anyway, um, I guess if you wanted to change durability, here's your engine durability. You can change how this goes, or how strong the engine is, how much torque it can take, stuff like that. This is where you can, well, in this case, you could literally turn off overheating. You can change how much oil it has. You can change the material the engine block is made out of, and then how well it cools just by air cooling. But anyway, that's this particular side of things. It's again, it's not hard. It's just punching in whatever values you want. From there, we can go to, I don't want to save that. I didn't make any changes. We can pull open, let's say, I believe I have them open here, my transmissions. Transmissions are basically the exact same thing. In this case, I will pull this open here so you guys can see it. I'm in my, this is my testing version of my mod. I'm going to go into my vehicles. In this case, I'm going to pull open the D series. The D series, the Roamer, and the H series are kind of a special case, and that's why I'm going to use the D series as an example. If you see here, the D series is called pickup. I have a pickup folder here. This is going to be specific parts only for the pickup. These are some differentials that I've been trying to get working. They show up, but if you install it, it pops right back out. It doesn't actually install it. I don't know why. I haven't figured that out yet, but that's what these are. This is a paint scheme I'm trying to make work because the seep trucks look very similar to a good friend of mine's truck, and I want to make my friend's truck in the game. And then this is a file of me trying to make my transmissions seep engine compatible. I believe they are. I believe it works. I have not messed with it enough to really know for sure. But anyway, this is again only for the D series. However, the D series, the H series, and the Roamer all use the same transmissions, I believe. So for that, I would go, sorry, I probably should have pointed that out better. You would go into your common folder. Your common folder is then going to be broken down further into other vehicles. In this case, I'm going to go to pickup. And now you see here, I have my differentials um, copied into here. I think that's wrong. I'm still working on this. But I would go into my transmissions. This is going to pull open my transmissions. I probably should have mentioned this when I was walking you through the cakewalk thing. This is VS Code. I like VS Code. It's very helpful. For Jbeam editing, you can use either VS Code or Notepad++. I will try to have links in the description for both of those. But this is VS Code. This is my transmissions mod. Now, for ease of use, I like to start with the base game's Jbeam and modify it from there to do what I want to do. It makes it a lot easier because I don't have to tell it any of the vehicle controller settings. I don't have to change any of these friction values. I don't have to write any of this from scratch. I don't know how to do that. I don't know if I ever want to try and figure out how to do that. But if you go into, I'll show you how to get to it right now that I'm thinking about it before I forget. Let's say you pull open, oops, I did not need to pull open Beam. I need to pull open Steam. So you go to Steam, you go to BeamNG, you're going to go to Manage, and then Browse Local Files. This is going to open your install path for BeamNG. From here, you're going to want to go to Content, Vehicles, and then this is all of the vehicles that are vanilla in Beam. This is not any of your mods. This is just the vanilla vehicles. This is where I would go in and I would find my files basically to use as a template. So in this case, we'll go into the pickup real quick and I'll show you where I would go there. So pickup, this is all of the different settings. Here's like engine settings. So you could make your, again, if you wanted to tweak power values for any of the engines that come in a vanilla pickup, you could do that here. But in this case, we're looking for transmissions. They're all going to be a Jbeam, so to make your life easy, I like to sort the files by file type, and then from there, they're alphabetical. So in this case, I need to scroll down until I see transmissions. So here's my pickup transmissions Jbeam. I don't have anything in mind to make right now, but let's say I went through, I had a particular transmission in mind. I would have all that research done beforehand normally. You can do it. But anyway, I would go through, I would just copy and paste all of this. Nice thing about VS Code is the reason I like to use this instead of Notepad++, which I was using for a while, is if you click this little arrow here, it collapses all of that code down into just this, and you can copy this one little thing. You don't have to scroll through all this to select it, and it makes it a lot easier. With that also, if you're making a mod similar to what I'm doing, if you copy this file, as you can see, there's a lot of other things in here. You have your flywheels, you have other transmissions, here's your other torque converters. Like, if I'm not modifying all of this, why would I want all of this in my mod file, cluttering it up and making it larger than it needs to be? So it's nice because you can collapse all this. Don't delete this. This is what tells the file it's done. You're going to take this and then you can just delete whatever you don't need, whatever you're not using. Let's say I did this. There you go. I want to make sure this is the same, but now only this transmission exists. I'm not going to save this because obviously that would break my game, but again, if you're making a mod and you want to do this type of stuff, that's how you would try to keep your file size low. Back to the transmission side. So again, you want to make your own personal transmission, your own custom gear ratios. In this case, you would want to change this to be the name. You can make this the name of the transmission. You can make this just about anything you want. Try to keep transmission in it. It helps the game kind of understand what you're trying to do. I can't remember if I've modified that out before and had it break off the top of my head, but it's a possibility. So just try to keep that part in it. 4A in this case is denoting that this is a 4-speed automatic. That's not important to be in the name. If you want it in the name just for your own self, go for it. Try to keep what vehicle it goes into if possible. It's not, that part's not super important. I'm pretty sure in mine itself, if I go in here and collapse some of these down, like this literally says Rebel pickup 4L80. I don't even have transmission in there. So like this knows, or here's my pickup transmission 6-speed manual. Like, so this is just the name of the part the game sees. This is, I believe, what I told you in the cakewalk portion, the name of the part you see in the drop-down menu. Okay, so you have your gear ratios figured out. You know what they need to be based on the transmission you want to add. Again, you're going to go into the vehicle you want, find its transmission Jbeam, and you're going to go down here to gear ratios. This is exactly what it says. It starts, this is your reverse gear, neutral gear, and then 1 through 4 in this case in order. Change these to whatever you want. This is where you would put in all those values to match whatever transmission it is you're trying to recreate. Park lock torque, I believe this is just what denotes how strong park is. I haven't messed with that. Same thing with these. I don't know for sure what friction and dynamic friction do. Joe from Joe's Junk, when I was first getting into this, was helpful. I wanted to make a 4L60 that had, like, it was slipping. You would change these. I have not messed with that to really dial those in and figure that out. I believe with this also, you could tighten up a transmission if you're having issues with a transmission on a high powered drag car to where it just doesn't seem to be shifting right because it's slipping. I believe these settings are what you would change also. But again, I'm not sure. I have not messed with it. From there, let's say you wanted the transmission to have a manual and a drive mode. So you want to be able to select between the two, similar to the sport transmissions or the Civetta transmissions in the game. You would do that here where it says automatic modes. In this case, we have park, we have reverse, neutral, drive, second, and first. If you wanted a manual, you would just put a manual in between drive and second. If you wanted a sport, you can add an S. I don't know if there's going to be a transmission in this particular setting that has that. For that, use, like I said, Civetta or any of the DCTs, I believe, have a sport mode. Even the Bastion's 8-speed has a sport mode. You can use that as a reference to do that. I like to leave calculate optimal shift points as true. You can turn this off. Um, from very, very, very limited testing, this just lets the game pick when the best time this transmission will shift for your particular setup. Um, Other than that, I haven't messed with any of these. This is further transmission tuning. If you really want to get into the nitty gritty and build a really good drag transmission, I mean, this is probably where you're going to spend the majority of your time. That's going to be it for this portion of things. Now I'm going to move on to Json and Jbeam are very similar in editing. Jbeam are for parts. Json is, in this case, going to be for, I'm going to show you the facilities, so like your houses and dealerships. So let's say you're playing and you don't like that Seal Brick only has, I believe it's 3 parking spots. We're going to go to our, I don't believe this is the right file. I think this is the wrong one. We're going to go to, oh, I should probably actually pull this open and show you. In this case, I'm on RLS Career Overhaul 2.5 beta. I'm going to go into here. You're going to see this. In this case, they recently moved it. It's going to be under overrides. You're going to go to levels, West Coast USA. You're going to look for this facilities folder. Pull open facilities. These are all of the dealerships, I believe, all of your houses. These are all going to be the photos and everything associated with those. In this case, let's say we want to make Seal Brick have more garage slots. We're going to open up this facilities JSON. This is going to pull open all of those houses. I would then go over here to search. I'm going to look for Seal Brick. That did not work for that. So I think I'm going to actually do, in this case, Control F. Seal. All right, Seal Brick. Let's see if this is what I'm looking for. That is Seal Brick, but I'm not seeing what I want. So I'm going to actually back up and do, all right, capacity. I just looked up capacity. Let's see, this is Belasco City Garage, has a capacity of 8. Commercial Garage has a capacity of 15. So you would find, well, here, everybody's favorite, Chinatown. Capacity 2. Well, maybe I want it to be 10. Change that. There you go. Now, if you save this, Chinatown now holds 10 cars. You can set this number to whatever you want. I like to do this on East Coast USA with a farm or on West Coast with Seal Brick, and I like to make it like 10 or 15 because in my opinion, I have plenty of space at both of those properties to have more than 3 vehicles. I want more vehicles, but that's how you would change that. This default price is exactly what it says. This is the price of that garage. If you want the garage to cost nothing, make it cost nothing. If you want it to cost exponentially more, make it cost exponentially more. That's entirely up to you. Just tweak that, and that's the cost of your garage. But that's how you do that. If you're a weirdo like me and you want to build a very particular car from Joe's junk from the ground up, but you're sick and tired of waiting for it to show up, you're going to go over here to your dealership facilities JSON. We're going to do something similar to what we did earlier. We're going to go over to here. We're just going to look up Joe's. So here's Joe's junk. You're going to look for stock. In this case, the game, they have it set up to where it only loads 7. I don't remember offhand how many configs Joe has, but let's say you want there to be 50. I don't think he has 50, so it's just going to pull every single one, but that's what it'll do. This changes how many that particular dealership will carry at one time. If you want all of the options at trusted, make that one 100. But note, this is going to change your load time on dealership, but that's how you would do that. This is changes how many vehicles load into that particular dealership at a time. I don't mess with, it doesn't look like I don't mess with whitelists and stuff like that. This changes what vehicles can show up at what dealerships. I haven't really messed with that. You're welcome to try and mess with that and see if you can't get the stuff you want to spawn in or make your own categories. At one point in time, I wanted to try and make my own dealership, just haven't gotten around to it yet. But anyway, that's what this facility's JSONs do. Again, very, very simple, nothing crazy. We're not going to save that because, again, I didn't make any changes. Now, for cargo, recently had somebody reach out. They wanted me to add double stacked cargo boxes onto a particular trailer. I don't have that quick and easy setup currently. So I'm going to just do this I guess simpler, not simpler. I'm going to do this a different way. I'm not necessarily going to show you exactly how to do that, but I will walk you through the process of doing something similar to that. In this case, we're going to go back to our BeamNG folder, like I showed you earlier. We're going to go to content. Again, we're going to go to vehicles. And then we're going to go to our, in this case, I'm going to use box utility. I believe this is a trailer. Let me figure that out, because if I do this, what does this look like? So this is not the trailer I was thinking of, but this is a trailer. We're going to look for the cargo Jbeam. So we have our Jbeams, cargo box large Jbeam file for this particular trailer. If we pull that open, it's going to list under slots. These are the cargo boxes it is going to load for this 3XL slot cargo type. So in this case, it's using cargo box XLA, XLB, and XLC. Cargo boxes are standardized in the game files. Every vehicle uses the same one. The way they move them to fit particular vehicles is through well, in this case, it's listed as node move, but this will sometimes say node offset. But anyway, this is what tells the game, hey, this box has a default global location. I need you to move that to this location instead. So you would move these to get them to move where you wanted to. So in the case of the pigeon from the last season on Justin's channel to where the boxes were spawning in the cab, I had to go through and move these to get it to show up in the bed. This is just the cargo boxes. The game automatically spawns straps around the cargo boxes. Those are here. So if you want the straps to be in the right place, you're going to have to go through again and move these nodes to get those straps to line up. With that, this also shows, here's your rotation. This obviously allows you to rotate those straps. And then here's scale. You can change the size of those straps. But anyway, that's how you would do that. Also with cargo boxes, recently I did a mod or feature to add money to the XL cargo boxes that can be used in the bed of the D series or on the roof of your vehicle on a roof rack. That was done through modifying the cargo boxes themselves, their Jbeam, which is still found under your BeamNG folder, content vehicles. You're going to go down to, you're going to find common, similar to when I was using the transmission for the D series. You're going to go common, and there's going to be one specifically called cargo. Under cargo, these are all your different cargo boxes. So your large, extra large. Here's your stacks. So if you wanted stacked boxes, this is what they would need. For, let's say we were going to do the pickup bed ones. The pickup beds are listed as a 90. So I'm going to find, this is the aggregate box. So cargo load box XLA 90 degree. This is the front box on a D series with a long bed if it has two, or this is the box if you have the single or short bed. This is the one that shows up. So in here, you have the cargo box itself. If you go to where it says cargo storage, this tells the game what this box does. In this case, it's a cargo box A, cargo box, it's named cargo box A. It can hold parcels or the regular cargo in the game, and it can hold 128 units. You can change that number to whatever you want. Just remember that if you do, cargo has weight. You set this too high, you will have to deal with the weight of that cargo. But that's how you would do that. If you have a mod like the Cove Up that has cargo box options, but they don't allow you to load cargo, most likely the mod author has set this group ID or this slot type incorrectly, and the game does not recognize it as a cargo box. Go ahead and change those to match what you need, and then that should, in theory, fix the problem. I'm pretty sure that's what I did on the Cove Up. Unfortunately, I don't remember offhand, and I don't have the files on hand to show you exactly what I did there. But that's what you would do there, is change these to match what you need, and then that would allow you to then haul cargo. With that, I guess while I'm thinking about it and I'm here, for the money boxes that I recently did, I just took the file straight from, let's see if I still have it open. I do not. I just went into the RLS stuff and found the cargo boxes for the money missions and just changed this cargo storage to be what the money was. And then I changed uh, this to be money box, and then this to be money box, and then that made that box able to carry the money and show up under the drop down menu as money box. So that's all for that. Um, when you make any changes to this stuff, this stuff is going to be case sensitive, slot types and stuff like that. If you don't have it spelled exactly right, it will not work. If you do not have the case exactly right, it will not work. If you don't have the underscores in the right spot, it will not work. Easiest way for those things is just to copy and paste. I guess I will go into briefly how to set up the folders themselves, just so you don't run into an issue there. Let me get that pulled open. So this is just my folder I have with mods I'm working on, stuff I've tweaked, um, stuff I'm working on, references, like I said, real simple. I have an empty mod folder as a template set up. Um, this is going to end up being a zip file. I believe with WinRAR, you can compress to a zip once you're done. But anyway, you would name this whatever you want to name it. Under this, in that folder, you're going to want a vehicles folder. In that vehicles folder, you're going to want the name of the vehicle, and then in here is going to be whatever Jbeams. If you get into 3D modeling, you're going to have your DAEs. That'll all be in here. I believe paint jobs and stickers can go in here as well. I'm still learning that. I don't know for sure. I have a textures folder set up out here for when I eventually do get better at the 3D modeling thing. All my textures and stuff will go in here. That's where I would also put paint jobs and stuff like that if and when I do it. You can do it either way. Both I've seen work, neither of which I've been able to get to work yet. But anyway, that's basic file folder setup. It just makes it easy. Anyway, I think that's going to be all. If you guys have questions, feel free to reach out. I'll do my best to answer any that I know of. I'm still learning a lot of this. I'm still very new at all of this. There's still a lot of the things that I mess up and I spend 3 hours trying to figure out what I did wrong. So by no means take any of this as gospel, but this is at least the quick and dirty, this is how I do it.